Hello, welcome to another What's Relevant here at Duo Tech Services. One question I heard get asked to Silas this week is actually very timely, and the question was related to what is one of the biggest challenges that you faced technically in engineering, and what was the answer to that?
I said integration.
And why is that?
Well, you know, integration is one of those things where so many things can happen, and it requires everybody across your disciplines. It requires their customer. Just so many areas have to work together in order for that to happen. So integration, we talk about integration, we could be meaning within a design, taking all the pieces of the design that all our different disciplines have come up with and bringing them together and making them actually function. We could be talking about bringing pieces that we've purchased from other vendors into a design and trying to work with the systems they have, or taking a design that we've tested in the bench and integrating that into an operational environment, be that a factory floor, an aircraft, you know, a ground station, whatever that else is, where we're interacting with other interfaces and other systems. So all of those things bring...
Not just a novel device that has a function, but something that solves a problem in an environment to a specification.
Right, with users using it and everything else that goes along with that.
Oh, the users using it, that's always one of those fun ones.
Yeah.
Now, some of the considerations when you're going into the problem of integration is, well, if you're using something off the shelf from a vendor, how exactly do you use it? How do you interface with it? What are its specifications? What are its limitations? If you have an opportunity, please take some of these vendors up on their offer to actually demo some of these devices. It's always interesting to see, okay, well, what does that asterisk actually mean? Are the graphs ambiguous? What's provided to you as part of a packaged or in-use device that lets you actually use it? And what are some of the...
Yeah, one thing you got to really be careful of there is make sure that you give yourself some margin. Just because the manufacturer says it'll hit this thing until you've tested it in your temperature and in your environment and all of your stuff.
Exactly.
In your design, give yourself some margin so that when you get there, if it doesn't quite meet that.
We actually recently had a device that we'd worked on. We'd given ourselves some margin, giving it about a div by 8 actual performance. Turns out the actual operation was a div by 32. And that's one of those things
slower than they said it would be.
Exactly.
And that was because of our environment.
Exactly. But limitations come up and challenges come up, and even no matter how well you scope, there can always be some layers that you can't plan for. When it comes to relating between disciplines, that's also kind of a fun one, whether it's dealing with electrical to mechanical, or whether it's mechanical folks having something where they need to constrain the device in a certain place. Well, the electrical folks have actual layout restrictions that prevent them from getting something packaged into a certain place. Those things need to be considered, and good lines of communication, design reviews. A lot of times it's great to have representations, whether it's taking things that are 3D printed or things that are 3D modeled, and bring those things together in ways that you can make sure the disciplines communicate, right?
Yeah, and that's very helpful. Prototyping early and having good stated requirements, very key to making sure. And that doesn't mean just within the disciplines, but then also communicating with the customer about the environment it's going to be installed in down the road. You've got to have a good idea of the requirements of interfaces, connectors, cooling, power, you know, air pressure, whatever else you've got going on when you're going to be putting
and
that
not
in the
just
system.
Communication, but the relationship you have with that customer, being able to say, well, if there are any issues that come up, communicating them clearly and early. I mean, that's key to any success in any project, right?
Yeah, and especially when you're getting into here, bringing that system into its operational environment, you've got to have a good working relationship with your customer, because the types of things that can come up in those during that integration phase, you as a designer have to recognize that you're now working in their environment under their schedules and their policies and their, you know...
Sure, whether it's steel-toed shoes coming onto a flight line, or whether it's the safety considerations that they set into the integration phase that you may have not planned for in your time and the constraints of how you can actually work with the equipment in their facility, right?
Yeah. You know, Donald Rumsfeld made famous the known unknowns and unknown unknowns.
Exactly.
And in integration phase, your unknown unknowns are always going to come up.
Absolutely.
And the things that you didn't foresee being a risk, and you can try to mitigate as much as you can and give yourself some schedule, but things can very quickly become cramped and difficult when you're in that phase. And one of the things that happens right there is that, you know, you want to make sure that when you come out of the thing with the functioning product at the end, that you have it documented, you know what you did.
Absolutely.
And in the crunch phase, it can be really challenging to make sure that you follow through with the discipline to capture the work that's being done during that phase.
Do what seems like that thankless part of the job in the documentation to make life easier on everyone going on. And that's one of those things, whether it's the challenge of getting a wire from here to here in an airframe, or simply how do I logistically move a 8,000-pound weldment into a facility that I don't necessarily have the equipment or egress for now. Figuring out from the integration and installation mindset, how do I provide the customer an actual useful product in the end? And that's something we do here at Duotech. From concept to completion, integration is key. If you have an opportunity, visit us online at duotechservices.com. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help you with your design and the integration that goes into this design. Also, follow us on Twitter.